Welcome into another edition of Daily Wager. I'm Doug Kazarian alongside Joe Fortenbaugh and Anita Marks. We have electricity back here in Connecticut. It is restored. We are a month away from the NFL season opener. Exciting times here. All right, let's get into it. Some interesting headlines or storylines, I should say, surfacing recently in the AFC East. We'll take a look at the futures. The Bills have the highest win total in the division at 9. Pats right there at 8.5. We think Cam Newton's a starting quarterback. Both are minus $1.75 to make the postseason. The Dolphins and Jets down there in the bottom half of the AFC East. Anita, which one stands out to you the most?
I've been talking about the Bills for a long time, and I'm still all over them. Look what's happened in that division with their opponents. With the Patriots, most players opting out because of COVID-19. Two crucial guys on defense, and Hightower and Chung. With the Jets, they lose two crucial players as well. C.J. Mosley, he opts out. And as we know, Jamal Adams traded to the Seattle Seahawks. And for the Miami Dolphins, let's face it, limited padded practices, no preseason games. I don't think it'd be wise for them to go with Tua. I don't like any of their quarterbacks. So the stars are aligning so properly for the Buffalo Bills. I love them to win the division, Doug.
All right, it's been a big run for the Pats. Obviously, no Tom Brady, but they still have Bill Belichick. And now Newton, the former MVP. It'll be fascinating to see how that all plays out. I'm still sticking with the 49ers with the yes-no. The yes is minus 325. I've talked about it all summer. They are the class of the NFC, particularly the NFC West. And you mentioned the Jets losing Adams. Well, he obviously goes to Seattle, so the division is going to be a little bit tougher. But we remember the Niners were just so dominant. They were essentially bullies beginning of the season, end of the regular season, and then what they did in the playoffs is shutting down everyone. That's when they were healthy. George Kittle's coming back. Garoppolo is another year removed from his knee surgery. And I just think they're so tough. And also remember, an extra wild card team in the NFC. So I like the minus 325, especially if this league takes the shape of kind of what Major League Baseball did and other leagues when we have sort of mid-season changes with format and everything with COVID. I trust the Niners coaching staff. And I also think that early part of the schedule, they have a really easy start to the schedule. That may become even more impactful. Something happens with a shortened season on that yes-no prop. And one of the teams San Francisco bullied last year in the postseason was the Packers, who won the NFC North, 13 wins, but they are not the favorite to win it this year. That's the Vikings at plus 155. Both the Pack and Vikes have season win totals of 9. Bears at 8 and the Lions at 7. So at least the numbers in terms of win totals suggest a competitive division, maybe the most competitive. Joe, what stands out?
I've got the Green Bay Packers earmarked for a serious regression this year, so I'm going to play under 9 wins on the win total there, Doug. They had the second best record in the NFL last season at 13-3, but just the 9th best scoring differential. They were 8-1 in one-score games, which is uncanny, and they were plus 12 in turnover differential, which was tied for 3rd best in the NFL. All of those numbers are very difficult to sustain. They all point to a regression. Now let's turn our attention to Aaron Rodgers. All the drama about the team drafting Jordan Love after trading up in the first round. They're drafting the heir apparent, right? All this drama. Forget about the drama. Rodgers is 36 years old. He's in regression. He's not a terrible quarterback. He's not an average quarterback, but he's no longer the cream of the crop in the NFL. Last season, he posted his 2nd worst quarterback rating of the last 11 years, his 2nd worst completion percentage of the last 12 years. So between that regression, between the numbers that point to a regression for the team and the road schedule this year, Green Bay's got to play the Vikings, Saints, Brady and the Buccaneers, the Niners, the Texans, the Colts, and the Bears, all on the road this season. I don't see this team getting to 10 wins. A push is my worst case scenario. I'm going under 9 wins with the Packers.
The only team with more wins last year than the Pack, the Baltimore Ravens, 14-2. They are your favorites in the AFC North this coming season, minus 300 to win the division, minus $9 to make the postseason. Again, 3 wildcard teams in each conference. But the Steelers and Browns certainly in the mix, at least in the Bengals, adding number 1 overall pick, their quarterback of the future. They are 5.5 is your win total. Now, Anita, you've talked about this Ravens team all year, all summer, I should say. And I'm with you there, but 11.5 is a big number.
Yeah, listen, I like them across the board in every bet. AFC, Super Bowl, over 11. As my T-shirt says, the future is bright, Douglas. for a number of reasons. I talk about the continuity because we're playing in this COVID environment. They only lost 2 players to opting out, but both those players were backups. So now you've got 21 of the 22 starters last year returning. I love what they did in free agency, bringing in Calais Campbell. I love that they drafted Patrick Queen. I think he potentially could win Defensive Rookie of the Year. There are just so many stars, again, that I talked about the Bills a little earlier that align properly for them. Also, I'm hearing that Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, he put on 20 pounds. We talk so much about Lamar Jackson, what he can do for this offense. We seem to forget the plethora of weapons that are around him that he could just dip the ball to, and they could take it to the house. Not to mention their travel schedule is very favorable. Their opponents are favorable. It's unbelievable what really is in store for them. I think they're just going to crush the NFL this season, Doug.
I agree with you, Anita, in terms of I'm expecting a big regular season from Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Look, what it takes to stop that offense, we saw that from the Titans last year in the postseason. It's a week of just locking in and trying to defend it. But in the regular season, you just don't see that kind of effort and just what it takes, the attention to detail. So I think the regular season, 11.5 is a big number, but I'm expecting another huge year for the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, obviously the reigning MVP, Joe. Rushing yards prop, 935.5 at Caesars Sportsbook. How are you approaching this?
I'm looking at the under on Lamar Jackson's rushing total, which is 935.5 yards. I agree with just about everything Anita said. Jackson's going to be a beast this year. I just don't think he's going to run it as much as he did last season. He's already been telling people this offseason in several interviews that he plans on running the ball less. Last year, he carried the ball 176 times. That's the most by a quarterback in NFL history. It was 23rd in the NFL overall. And you can't help but think that somewhere in the back of his mind, he saw the contract Patrick Mahomes got and thought durability is something that's going to be very important for the next couple of years as he gets set to make a play for a big-time contract. Further, 935.5 yards is an insane number. It's essentially asking Jackson to be top 5 NFL all-time in rushing at the quarterback position for a single season. Randall Cunningham's currently 4th for rushing yards in a single season at 942 yards. We put props out there for big numbers and big performances, but how many do we see that ask the guy to do something that'd be one of the 5 best performances in NFL history? I don't see it happening. I think he scales back a little bit this year, still has a remarkable season, but under for the rushing at 935.5 yards.
Yeah, and it's already come down, as we saw in the graphics, 64 yards. So it's been bet to the under. Guys, a lot of fun. Like I said, we are a month from kickoff of the regular season, the opening night. Obviously, we need it. We've been waiting for football, and we're here the home stretch here.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.